There we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at Legacy Studios in East Liverpool, Ohio, getting ready to talk Pitt football. Greg Diolis is here to preview the Georgia Tech game. It's coming up Saturday at noon, Bobby Dow Stadium, 93.7 The Fan. Georgia Tech, 1-1, racked up 372-plus yards per game. Pitt doesn't fare well with the pass defense. Jordan Whitehead is back, but it's not the pass that I'm worried about. Greg Diolis, talk about this Daquan Marshall, who in that double overtime loss to the Vols, are you ready, folks? 44 carries, 249 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Greg, as we like to say in the neighborhood, this young man can scoot with a football.
Yeah, Rob, we got to hope that maybe they wore him out a little bit in that game because, for goodness sake, and that's the thing that Georgia Tech does. They just pound that triple option at you. And a couple of kids have been quoted as saying they keep pounding it at you until you get bored, and then you lose your position discipline. And that's the problem that happens with this option is they'll just keep running it. I mean, they'll run an option play on 3rd and 8. Because it is so explosive that's as good to them as a pass play. So that's going to be the hardest thing that Pitt has to face is the fact that these guys are just going to keep pounding the football at them.
What about Whitehead being back? I know I'm sure, going to need a little bit of time to get back in shape, but he's a tremendous, talented athlete. He can't do anything but help this defense, right?
So I agree with you, Rob. Specifically, I think what Pitt can do with him is actually walk him up into the box and almost play 8 men in the box with him because he's so versatile and he is a thicker safety. So you can play him in somewhat of a linebacker position and be in a situation where you're kind of stacking that against the run and hoping that you force Georgia Tech to try to pass over the top of you. That's not their strong suit, and that's what you're going to need to get from him. And I don't think Pitt needs to worry about him being in shape. I mean, this is a kid who's one of those finely tuned athletes, so it's not going to be that he'll be out of shape. He may not be in football condition, but he'll be fine. You're going to get some hot weather down there in Atlanta. Well, you have hot weather up here too, but that could be the one issue that he may have is with the heat and the exhaustion from that factor.
By the way, Georgia Tech does have a win against Jacksonville State this year. The Panthers, obviously, they won the opener against Youngstown State, but they've had a rough couple of weeks. Of course, Oklahoma State University last week and then Penn State prior to that. Here's something that amazes me. Paul Johnson has kept this triple option offense going. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Oklahoma Sooners many, many years ago, Bud Wilkinson. But it's very tough to defend. And one of the things that Charlie Partridge told, he, of course, the defensive line coach of the University of Pittsburgh Panthers, he told them, this is according to Richard Weaver, he said, look, you better be prepared to, well, basically reprogram or rewire your mind, especially when it comes to their quarterback, Daquan Marshall, because if he sees a crack, according to Weaver, you know he's going to take it. Kid's only 5'10", but he's got a lot of speed and he's very shifty, and he is, he was actually brought to this school as a running back, but he ended up now being the quarterback because just showing a great deal of agility and focus and play calling and running with a football, and more importantly, executing this triple option offense. So this is going to be unique to see, and I absolutely love it when it's executed to perfection. Just hope it's not that perfect against Pitt.
Yeah, Rob, one of the things this kid will remind Pitt fans of the quarterback at the Naval Academy a couple of years ago when Pitt played them in the Military Bowl. Reynolds was his name, and he was very good with the football and scary as far as handling the ball. You don't always know, and when you're watching this game on television, you believe me, the cameraman will be faked out a number of times and will be following the wrong place as far as where the football is, because this kid can really handle the football, and that's what makes it very difficult, especially for Pitt's defensive backfield, because they're not always going to know where the ball is. That's why it's very important to play sound, disciplined assignment football, making sure that everybody, the first guy's got to tackle the fullback coming through the line of scrimmage to make sure that you're not beaten by that, and then everybody else's roles can stay in place. But if they're able to start and get option number 1 loose, then Pitt's going to be in for a really long day.
You know, what excites me is the fact that, the University of Pittsburgh Panthers are going to play in the ACC now. This is their first conference game of the year. A lot of football still to come. But you know what? I still think people believe in what Coach Narduzzi is trying to do. and also trying to get them back, not just to a winning football team on the national stage. They're the second team only this year, the other being Fresno State, that went against two top 10 opponents back-to-back, one being Penn State and then Oklahoma State University. So they are going up against the bigger and tougher opponents. And you know, in the long run, especially with such a young football team, and this defense is young, they're only going to get better. So I really do believe, you know what, you take a little punishment early, but in the long run, it's going to pay big dividends for the Pitt program.
Well, and that's what everybody has to hope for, is that having seen probably the two best football teams that they're going to see this year already, that will give them a little bit of seasoning to get them to the point where, okay, now we can play against the rest of this situation. Now, what you don't like about the fact is completely different styles last week as compared to this week. So you didn't get any kind of practice or tune-up for this group. And hopefully Pitt's got some guys that are little scat-back type guys that they've been able to practice against as far as, handling the football and the option type thing during the week this week. But you're right, Rob. You make a great point of the fact that, playing against two top 10 opponents and really very, very high-quality opponents, it has to make you a better football team because you can't go into a shell now. And everybody's talked about all the interviews we've heard this week is the fact that these kids have responded well to some harsh coaching during the week and have come out and they're not just going to lay down and die. And Coach Narduzzi will not allow that to happen. And I hope Pitt fans do not give up on Narduzzi because this is a good football coach and he'll get this team, get them straight and get them right.
All right, listen, I want to talk about the quarterback situation, so I saved it for last because this has been the topic of conversation. But I don't see how you simply say Max Brown, even though we kind of said, look, you come from USC, and we'll give you an opportunity to start, and you will be our starting quarterback. So they did that, and it hasn't really fared as good as they would think. But then again, new town, really locating 3,000 miles away from where he played, and more importantly, being the new kid on the block and everything that goes with it. A lot of pressure, I'm sure. And you know what? Penn State and Oklahoma State University are pretty much going to be doing that to a lot of good quarterbacks, all-American quarterbacks for the rest of the year. So what happens now? Ben Narduzzi gets in, as he did against Oklahoma State University. Second quarter, couple of times, moves the football, gets him in the end zone. Then he kind of sputters out in the second half as well. So what do you do, and what do you make of this situation and what people are calling it a quarterback controversy?
Yeah, in my opinion, Rob, and I would advocate, and I rarely advocate for this, and that is to have a dual threat quarterback. Maybe give you, because you do get two completely different looks with these guys. You get one guy who's a pure drop back pocket passer with a big arm. You get another kid who's really a little bit more versatile and can move around a little bit more outside the pocket, gives you the option and those types of quarterback boots and things of that nature. So I think that should go into this game maybe with the thought process of, hey, we're going to give each guy a couple of series in the first quarter and then play the hot hand from there. You don't necessarily have to say, here's my number one. You don't owe that to anybody. Pitt doesn't have to announce going into the game who the starting quarterback is. They can decide that, or they'll have it in their mind, but they don't have to tell anybody who it's going to be, and let Georgia Tech prepare for two completely different guys.
All right, just a couple of other notes. Being that you're here and we're talking a little college football, Coach Franklin, Penn State, your observations of the Nittany Lions early on.
As much as I don't like Penn State, and I'm on record as a chief Penn State hater among our Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday show, I think that the guy has played it absolutely marvelously so far this year, allowing himself to be the guy that everybody hates and allowing everybody to love his football team. And the more he does these types of things, the more people are going to talk about him. And if people are talking about you, they're going to move you up in the rankings. He can't go much higher than he is right now until Alabama loses. But the guy, the son of a gun, is a great recruiter. He makes Pitt people hate him, which makes Penn State people love him. He has been a mastermind as far as how to handle a Penn State program, and really has put them at the prominence of the national outlook. And really is a guy who's, what more can you ask of a Penn State football coach than to have you situated in the top three in the country going into the Big Ten season? He will have his hands full Saturday night against Iowa, though.
All right, what about Ohio State?
Well, they got to be a little bit
scratching their head
by the fact that they finally lost an early season game, and that happened. But they still have a chance to rebound. But boy, Rob, if you think about it, they lost 3 players out of their defensive backfield to the first round in the National Football League draft. So they've got to retool that secondary a little bit, and that's going to be one of the areas of difficulty for them. You still got J.T. Barrett, who's a high quality quarterback who's played in national championship type competition already. So they're going to come around. They're going to be fine. And the Big Ten really is kind of like the Big Three and then the rest. So it's not going to be a major problem for them until they get to the Michigan and the Penn State games. So they're going to be fine. They'll be at the top of the pack just as they always are.
All right, now listen, folks, don't forget, go to the Evening Review, reviewonline.com. Why? Because this Friday night, it's Beaver Locals homecoming as they take on East Liverpool, and Jimmy Joe Savage will be there with all the great pictures. Okay, quickly, let's take a look at West Virginia having a difficult time, to say the least, and Notre Dame, we're still waiting for them to wake up the echoes, Coach Kelly. So those 2 teams, and we'll say goodnight, Greg.
Well, I'm not so sure West Virginia's having that much of a difficult time. I mean, they're obviously in the Big 12. They're going to be, coming up to some stiff competition. But Coach Holgerson has them, situated very well. They're in the top 20, and they'll make their run. They found their quarterback, so they've got no problems with that situation, coming in with a senior transfer as opposed to Pitt, who had the same situation and didn't really get what they were thinking about. And West Virginia always, Rob, they always have some of those little scat type guys that are going to catch the ball and run for 1,000,000 yards and get things going on their offense. As long as Dana Holgerson's at the helm, they're going to be fine. Notre Dame, on the other hand, different story. I think you got a major problem with Kelly. They probably are looking to maybe go in a different direction at the end of this year, and that's a shame because they thought that they had found their guy when they got him out of the University of Cincinnati and thought he was going to be a guy to plug in there. And who better than a guy named Kelly to run the Fighting Irish? But it just doesn't seem to have worked out very well.
Greg Diolis, we will talk to you Sunday on the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show. Counselor, have a great evening. Good night.
Thanks, my man. Have a good night yourself.
We'll be back. Stay with us, folks.